offer your question, then we're gonna come to Ms. Green. I'm gonna call us our attention to the priority question criteria. So as you offer your question, reflect on whether or not these are met. That it arises from a collaborative process. That's what just happened, right? We were collaborating and thinking through this together. That it helps us know what student data to dig into next. So you put this question forward, and then that should be a cue into what data do I have to go into now to look and examine further. It relates to learning. Does this question relate to learning? Ultimately, this is about culture and climate, right? And this is, and it's foundational, right, to whether or not our students can access the learning. And is it within our control to change when you offer your question? And lastly, is it intriguing to you? Is this something that you really want to find out? So Ms. T, what do you have for us?
So we said for 7th and 8th grade, how do we incentivize, maybe made up word, positive behavior consistently?
It's official.
Alright, so how do we incentivize positive behavior consistently throughout the whole year, especially during the months with more behavior referrals? So we actually in 7th and 8th grade only had 12 for 8th grade and 8 for 7th grade for the whole year.
There were pockets though,
Yeah.
so it was months where there were none and there were months where there were more. So making it more consistent, how do we make it consistent over the months?
We also looked at middle school data because we didn't have data, so our question, it bounces on to theirs, is what strategies did the middle school team use to get 0 referrals for the month of December? And how can we use this information to impact the school culture and climate?
So does it meet the criteria? Because Ms. T's meets the criteria, right? It's related to learning, it's within our control because you're talking about the incentives, something that we can control as a team. It's certainly intriguing. And the how question, can you repeat your how question, Ms. Polly?
How could we use this to impact the school culture and climate and give incentives to other grades to impact discipline?
This meaning the fact that in December there were none.
Right.
Okay, excellent. Ms. Green, so
We only had referrals during 1 month, and in that month, 3 of them were on the same day. So, and for physical aggression. So our question is, are there 3 separate incidents or 3 individuals involved in the incidents? And we think that's important to know. Were there 3 different fights that day or 1 fight involving 3 individuals?
and so if we look at the criteria, right, it's the first bullet we have, which is the collaborative process. The second one is, does it help us know what data to dig into next? So what data would we dig into?
We would look back at those referrals to see were there 3 different incidents or was it 1 fight with 3 kids involved?
We have to look at how the data is being reported again, and we were even talking about the amount of days per month. There's some months where there's less days than other months, and the other thing is snow days. We have to look at really all the quantifying to really.
So there's 2 things happening here. One is the fact that, as I heard the middle school, the upper grades thinking, what is it that we need to do to change, right? How we incentivize our practice as adults. Whereas you're thinking, how is it that we need to change the way we're reporting the data? So that becomes a process-related issue. And either way, it's good because ultimately it's gonna relate to learning at the end, right? So, but this means that you might need to then go back and really look at the way in which your tools, right? How is it that your process is coming along?
Because that may change her question altogether, and you have to go backward design, start from the beginning.
Yeah, so this might take you might have to go back to step 2. Right, step 2 of data-wise is how is it that we are analyze what data, how are we capturing the data, how are we interpreting the data? Yes, Ms. Green.
Because you might look at the school and think overall that there's been 50 fights this year, and it may have actually only been 25. Because each fight involves, it takes 2 people to fight.
Yeah.
So it may have been half the number of incidents that we think.
So your question is related to process. How about any other questions?
Ours is too, because when I fill out a referral, I check all that apply.
Okay.
I check all that apply. So when I look at this, I know for me, I I might have disruptive behavior because you're disrupting my class when you fight. So I need to know, do you want me to just check off the major
to know.
offense?
We need to know, we have to be consistent with our reporting and
right,
our knowledge of
so-
how to report, so.
So ILT, right, that's a big learning out of this conversation. That there seems to be some either misunderstanding or just no clarity around, or little clarity around the how, right? How is it that we capture the incident in which is, right, that we saw? Is it an altercation that came about, altercation, physical aggression? And so maybe, so again, you might have to go back to step 2 and maybe this is about the form.
Right.
No?
I struggle with that because
Yes.
I think that teachers should mark every single box because we should not desensitize the events that are happening in our classroom. However, that's what I was talking about before about, is this just being taken at face value and put on a sheet to where, like I said, you have to divide that number by 3 if you're checking all those 3 major fighting boxes for one event, which is valid because if it applies, it applies. Or is it being filtered through a person who is dealing with all of these issues who can then norm them for our data? I don't think that we should, because here's what's gonna happen. If we don't check all the boxes and something bigger happens and they go back to the forms and then we can get cited for, you didn't properly report each incident. And then it becomes on us and that's not fair. So is it being interpreted through a consistent source that can then validate our data?
And I'd just like to piggyback, me personally, whenever I have situations, they have fought, they have left the room, they've done this, and I do check them off because these are all the things that they've done.
But so
That
this is
happens.
the thing about data, it's to your discretion, and this discipline data, it's to your discretion, so what you might think is a big deal, I might think is not a big deal.
Right.
And so it's more subjective,
Mhm.
which is hard.
Because I know, for example, I feel like if a student is fighting, then it goes to know that they're being disruptive. So it's kind of like which one is more of the bigger issue to address. So it's kind of like, am I filling it out based on my frustration? Like, oh, you disrupt my class, or you did this, or you did that. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like, but that's not what it's intended to do. It's more intended to target the behavior and let's fix that, as opposed to, well, you disrupted my class. Well, yeah, I was fighting, right?
But it's also important to make sure, I go back to okay, say you got into a fight, but then after you got into this fight, you left, and then that becomes a big thing because we don't know where you are.
Right.
And those are both 2 really, really serious things.
Yeah, but then those would still be 2 separate things, so.
But it'll be on that same sheet.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But all the like other little nitty
Oh, yeah, well.
things that it's kind of like, come on, you could probably leave that out.
But that would be, all those nitty-gritty things are good for that student's consequence on that one incident, but it's not good for this big analysis.
Yeah.
So it still
Right.
needs to be reported so that like our behavior team can adequately assess and apply consequences. But for a big like overall data examination like this, that's where like, what you're talking about, like that prioritization of what is the biggest issue to deal with that in that one incident. So it is like a double, you know.
It is. But then when you kind of look at it,
It's
it's
a
kind of
double-sided
like,
analysis.
but that's why, I think that's kind of why we're sitting here trying to figure out, well, why is this checked off so many times or that checked off so many times? So it's kind of like, obviously there's a, something going on with the data that we need to look at.
Is there a way then to change the form to have like a primary and a secondary offense? Or that primary offense is what you're reporting and all those little secondary things are just there for reference?
So that could be that could be a question that emerged. If that was the conversation that you had in terms of the how this data is being captured and or reported, that might be a priority question that emerged, you know, that gets funneled to the ILT. You had one? No.
I was just gonna say, in the past where I've worked is you had to pick one, but then in your write-up, you listed every single detail in the story as to what happened. So what you wanted to check off up top was there, but it was in the actual written piece, the dialogue that you wrote. So and it actually explained specifically after he fought, he walked out of the class, he did this, he did that, he did that.
So that could be a strategy. Okay, so we have several questions. What I want to do now is to make sure that before we end, that I capture all of your priority questions, and then you're gonna take copies and give them back. Only because they go to your ILT so that they can then identify their priority question. And it might be that, you know, they want to address, you know, the incentivization, I don't know, that's because I'm following your lead. They might wanna follow that, or it might be that we have to step back and really look at our forms, right? We have to step back and look at how we're asking our staff to really document what's happening, so that you can have these conversations and the analysis, you know, be true to the data that you need. So with that all said, next steps is ILT is gonna identify the priority question. And I know that we're running out of time, so of course, in the true spirit of continuous improvement, the plus and the delta, right? The what worked, what didn't work for this meeting today. You know that transparency matters to me, so anything that worked or didn't work, share it out.
Being able to look at our specific data for our team worked. That way it was relevant to all people doing it.
Collaboration with our team.
Collaboration.
I was thinking that. Everybody looking at data. Yes, data.
I think we also focus on the depth and breadth of the analysis of really what could be impacting, you know, our documentation and how we're doing it.
Any delta?
We just got started a little late, but it was a technology issue, but.
Every minute counts. I hear you, Misty. All right, any other deltas? No? So my plus to you all is you're always coming with a learner stance. So I appreciate you, MLK, for always bringing your learning game.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.